When starting this series, I didn't want to just focus on Black history. I wanted to delve into each of our lived experiences. When you look up the term lived experience, it states that it is a personal knowledge about the world gained through direct, first-hand involvement in everyday events, rather than through representations constructed by other people. It may also refer to knowledge that people gain from direct, face-to-face interactions. So I figured, what better way to start this series than to share my lived experience? Welcome to episode 1 of The Soul That's Within. We all know each other's professional backgrounds and accomplishments. We've been on enough DGAs by now to have each other's spills memorized. But I do want to talk about life before I ever entered the military or became a federal agent. I want to talk about a life that was slow paced, life in a place that every fall smells like fresh tobacco and every home smells like breakfast was just cooked. My lived experience truly starts in Todd County, Kentucky. I grew up in a town of 2,000 people called Elkton. And although I was born in Columbia, South Carolina, I came to Kentucky at age 3 where I would be molded to the man I am today. So I was born in South Carolina and raised in Kentucky. I'm from the South through and through. And yes, that's a South with an F. So the intent of this is not to give my whole autobiography, but I do want to paint a picture. Being Black and being raised in Todd County is complicated. Todd County is a tobacco county. Everyone either farms or they work in the farming industry. Elkton is the biggest town in the county and has a beautiful town square that all the kids cruise on Friday nights in their trucks. The soda shop is a staple of the community, and people come from miles away to go to the Amish bakeries. Todd County as a whole is only about 12,000 people. It's the birthplace of poet and Pulitzer Prize winner Robert Penn Warren. It has beautiful landscape and some of the best hunting in Kentucky or Tennessee. My hometown is actually named for the large elk that used to roam in the area. We have one stoplight in the entire county that was placed there in 1998. And it's a place that you can have a shotgun in the back of your truck at school because most people were hunting before school. It's a place that Tractor Day, where everyone drives a tractor to school, is one of the most anticipated days of the school year. It's a place stuck in time. It is literally Mayberry. Nothing new ever comes and everything stays the same. Now, saying all that, it's also a county that is 89% white, 8% Black, and a majority of that 8% are my cousins. 1% Hispanic and less than 1% of any other race. It is a county that is proud of the fact that when the majority of Kentucky fought for the Union in the Civil War, it stuck with some other southern counties and fought for the Confederacy. It is also a county that is probably most proud to be the birthplace of the only Confederate president, Jefferson Davis. Jefferson Davis has a huge monument at the site of his birthplace, and it's sort of a mecca for the sons of Confederate and Klan who have yearly events to celebrate their quote-unquote heritage. I say being Black in Todd County is complicated because it's a place that holds on so tightly to history. They feel an attack on history is a personal attack on them. It's a place that most people are poor, so the greatest attribute they feel they have is their whiteness. One of my earliest memories is playing Little League baseball, and I was pretty good, and I hit a home run off this kid, and he was so mad. So after the game, the kid whose last name is Shanklin came up to me with his dad and said, "That's why my family used to own your family." Now, my grandfather's last name is Shanklin, and at the time I didn't know the history, but I always knew there were white Shanklins and Black Shanklins in my town. So it was time for a history lesson, and my grandfather had to let me know that it was true, and that his side of the family ended up in Kentucky through slavery. Hearing that really made me look at things in my county with a wider lens. And as I got older, it made some things make sense. For instance, as small as my county is, I've never been north of my city limits into the northern part of the county. I was told growing up, black people don't go up there. And me and none of my friends ever chanced it. I had white friends who I could play with outside, but their parents would never allow me to come in their house. My high school is the Todd Central Rebels, where the Confederate flag was painted in the center of the basketball court and on the football field until 2010. So imagine being in an opposing high school, coming into that hostile environment, Confederate flags everywhere. It had to be terrifying for anyone who wasn't from there. It was so bad at one point that when we played certain schools, the state troopers would escort them in and out of town just for safety. To this day, Confederate flags fly proudly from the back of trucks as they cruise the town square. Now for me, I was considered by my friends as the chosen one. See, my grandmother, she cleaned and cooked for some of the wealthier people in my county. And my grandfather was a sharecropper for the wealthiest farmer in my county. So everyone knew me as Fonzo's grandson. So I was considered smart and not like the others from a very young age. I was always told I was going to be something when my cousins and friends were only told that they could make it through sports. I always say that I had my grandfather and uncles and strong role models, and that I was gonna make it regardless. So it was easy for teachers to leech on to me so that they could feel like they helped the little black boy, but in actuality, if they had just put a little more interest into some of the other black students, maybe we all could have went to college. It's funny because the joke there is that they choose one little black girl and black boy in kindergarten, and that's the one that can make it for that age group. But when you actually look back, it isn't a joke. That's how things really have happened. If you were black and not from there, you will be pulled over the moment you enter city limits. The first time I went home on leave from the military, and I was so proud because I had bought my first car on my own. It was a black 1996 Chevy Impala SS. I thought I was the man. So I had drove home from Texas, and I was immediately pulled over by one of the deputies. I had been gone so long to college and to the military that I almost forgot it would happen. But he comes up to me and he sees me, and in his thick country accent, he says, "Sean Eldridge, boy, I didn't recognize you. I thought you were one of them Tennessee boys from down the way. Have a good one. Tell Mr. Fonzo I said hi." That was it. And it's just an understanding there. The sheriff is the most powerful man in the county. My town, it also had 4 police officers, which included the chief. And we knew them all, and they knew us all. They would come to the park and hoop with us, and they were a part of our community. And for the most part, we were pretty much accepted as long as you were from there. But I would tell my black friends from neighboring towns, don't drive through there unless you were someone that's from there. In the early 90s, we had a racially motivated killing where a black high school student and a white high school student got into it over racial slurs and the Confederate flag, and the white student was shot and killed. Our sheriff allowed the Klan to march the streets, but when black activists showed up, he threatened them and told them that he didn't want any outside black folk coming in stirring up the good black folk of our community. For the most part, people just accepted it. It really is a place that everyone is expected to know their role and pretty much keep their heads down and do what they need to do to survive. Now, I don't want to make this all negative and sad. Despite not having my mom or dad, I had a great upbringing. My grandmother passed when I was 10, but she was so loving. I had 6 uncles who were strong figures in my life, big cousins who were more like big brothers. And my biggest influence was my grandfather. He couldn't read or write because he only went to school through 2nd grade. So every night he made me sit with him and read to him. I would read the Bible, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, James Baldwin. And before you knew it, I fell in love with reading and with history, particularly Black history. All those years I had thought I was doing it for him, but when I became an adult, I realized that it wasn't for him, that it was for me. Of all the things he gave me to become a man, that love of reading and learning, it's invaluable. I also credit a program I was in called Upward Bound. It was ran by the local community college in the next county over. But Upward Bound really showed me there was a world outside of the little bubble that I knew. My first summer in, we spent the whole summer on a bus traveling from Boston and visiting Harvard all the way down to Orlando and ending the summer at Disney and the University of Central Florida. That experience was so amazing for me. We stopped at so many colleges on that trip and stayed in the dorms the whole time and got to hang out with college kids. It really made me feel like I can do this. Upward Bound was the first time I ever got on a plane because we flew to San Francisco for our senior trip. It just opened my eyes to so much, and the director of Upward Bound has become a close friend, and I go speak often and volunteer with the kids in Upward Bound now, hoping to inspire them the way I was inspired back then. So with the strong family structure and the confidence I gained from Upward Bound, it was time for me to think about college. Now, I knew from a young age that I was going to go to a historically Black college. I grew up watching The Cosby Show and A Different World, and my favorite movie is School Days. It wasn't even a second thought for me. The only non-HBCU I even looked at was Louisville. Now, I'll do an episode later talking on the importance of HBCUs. But I had got my list down to Morehouse, Fisk, Tennessee State, and Hampton. And my family just knew I was gonna pick one of the Nashville HBCUs to be close to home. But from the moment I stepped onto Hampton's campus, I knew that was the place for me. The beauty of the campus, the history, you just feel it. You're sitting out by Emancipation Note. It's the school that Booker T. Washington went to. Now, HU could be a whole other story, but I'll just say that becoming a Hampton man truly prepared me for the next chapters of my life. And it's one of the best decisions I ever made. So that was just a glimpse into my lived experience. And I hope you got to learn a little more about me and about my Black experience growing up in a small town. I really look forward to sharing some of your experiences in this series. And I'll see you soon with episode 2 of The Soul That's Within.